Hi everyone, welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie and today we are on day 244. Welcome to the channel. I am so happy that you're here today. We are going to be reading out of 2 Samuel chapters 4 and 5, Lamentations chapter 4, Mark chapter 4, but only verses 1 through 25 today, and then we're going to close out the day with Psalm 119 verses 129 through 136. So let's get started. 2 Samuel chapter 4. Here we go. When Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands became feeble, and all the Israelites were troubled. Saul's son had 2 men who were captains of raiding bands. The name of one was Baanah, and the name of the other Rechab, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth also is considered a part of Benjamin, and the Beerothites fled to Gittim and have lived as foreigners there until today. Now Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son who was lame in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news came about Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel, and his nurse picked him up and fled. As she hurried to flee, he fell and became lame. His name was Mephibosheth. There we go. Sorry, folks. Mephibosheth. The sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, Rechab, and Baanah went out and came at about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth as he took his rest at noon. They came there into the middle of the house as though they would have fetched wheat, and they struck him in the body, and Rechab and Baanah his brother escaped. Now when they came into the house, as he lay on his bed in the bedroom, they struck him, killed him, beheaded him, and took his head, and went by the way of the Arabah all night. They brought the head of Ishbosheth to David to Hebron, and said to the king, Behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life. Yahweh has avenged my lord, the king, today, of Saul and his offspring. David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said to them, As Yahweh lives, who has redeemed my soul out of all adversity, when someone told me, Behold, Saul is dead, thinking that he brought good news, I seized him and killed him in Ziklag, which was a reward I gave him for his news. How much more, when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house, on his own bed, should I not now require his blood from your hand, and rid the earth of you? David commanded his young men, and they killed him, cut off their hands and their feet, and hanged them up beside the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth and buried it in Abner's grave in Hebron. Chapter 5. Then all the tribes of Israel came to David at Hebron and spoke, saying, Behold, we are your bone and your flesh. In times past, when Saul was king over us, it was you who led Israel out and in. Yahweh said to you, You will be a shepherd of my people Israel, and you will be prince over Israel. So all the elders of Israel came to the king to Hebron, and King David made a covenant with them in Hebron before Yahweh, and they anointed David king over Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned for 40 years. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned 30 years over all Israel and Judah. The king and his men went to Jerusalem against the Jebusites and inhabitants of the land, who spoke to David, saying, The blind and the lame will keep you out of here. thinking, David can't come in here. Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion. This is David's city. David said on that day, whoever strikes the Jebusites, let him go up to the watercourse and strike those lame and blind who are hated by David's soul. Therefore they say, the blind and the lame can't come into this house. David lived in the stronghold and called it David's city. David built around from the Millo and inward. David grew greater and greater, for Yahweh, the God of armies, was with him. Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David with cedar trees, carpenters, and masons, and they built David a house. David perceived that Yahweh had established him king over Israel, and that he had exalted his kingdom for his people's Israel's sake. David took more concubines and wives for himself out of Jerusalem, after he had come from Hebron, and more sons and daughters were born to David. There are the names of those who were born to him in Jerusalem: Shammua, Shobab, Nathan, Solomon, Ibhar, Elishua, Nepheg, Japhia, Elishama, Eliada, and Eliphalet. When the Philistines heard that they had anointed David king over Israel, all Philistine went up to seek David. But David heard about it and went down to the stronghold. Now the Philistines had come and spread themselves in the valleys of Rephaim. David inquired of Yahweh, saying, shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand? And Yahweh said to David, go up, for I will certainly deliver the Philistines into your hand. David came to Baal-perazim, and David struck them there. Then he said, Yahweh has broken my enemies before me, like the breach of waters. And therefore he called the name of that place Baal-perazim. They left their images there, and David and his men took them away. The Philistines came up yet again, and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim. When David inquired of Yahweh, he said, you shall not go up. Circle around behind them, and attack them in front of the mulberry trees. When you hear the sound of the marching in the tops of the mulberry trees, then stir yourself up, for then Yahweh has gone out before you to strike the army of the Philistines. David did so, as Yahweh commanded him, and struck the Philistines all the way from Geba to Gezer. Oh, I was ready to keep on going. I just love that, though, when verse 19, David inquired of Yahweh, saying, shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand? So many times in my prayer life, when I pray, I'm telling God what to do. I'm not very often asking, shall I? Will you? So many times I'm, Lord, please do this. So I love that about David, how he is just so reliant on God. It's like he doesn't make a move until he knows that God has said, okay, yeah, you're good to go. All right. Excuse me. Lamentations chapter 4. This is the Lamentations of Jeremiah. Excuse me. Goodness sake. How the gold has become dim. The most pure gold has changed. The stones of the sanctuary are poured out at the head of every street. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how they are esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter. Even the jackals offer their breast. They nurse their young ones, but the daughter of my people have become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. The tongue of the nursing child clings to the roof of his mouth for thirst. The young children ask for bread, and no one breaks it for them. Those who ate delicacies are desolate in the streets. Those who brought up the purple embrace dunghills. Let me start that again, verse 5. Those who ate delicacies are desolate in the streets. Those who were brought up in purple embrace dunghills. For the iniquity of the daughter of my people is greater than the sin of Sodom, which was overthrown as in a moment. No hands were laid on her. Her nobles were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was like sapphire. Their appearances is blacker than coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin clings to their bones. It is withered. It has become like wood. Those who are killed with the sword are better than those who are killed with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through, for lack of fruits in the field. The hands of the pitiful women have boiled their own children. They were their food in their destruction of the daughter of my people. Yahweh has accomplished his wrath. He has poured out his fierce anger. He has kindled a fire in Zion, which has devoured its foundations. The kings of the earth didn't believe, neither all the inhabitants of the world, that the adversary and the enemy would enter into the gates of Jerusalem. It is because of the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests that they have shed the blood of the just in the middle of her. They wander as blind men in the streets, and they are polluted with blood, so that men can't touch their garments. Go away, they cried to them. Unclean, go away, don't touch. When they fled away and wandered, men said among the nations, they can't live here anymore. Yahweh's anger has scattered them. He will not pay attention to them anymore. They didn't respect the persons of the priests. They didn't favor the elders. Our eyes still fail, looking in vain for our help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save. They hurt our steps so that we can't go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end has come. Our pursuers are swifter than the eagles of the sky. They chased us out. They chased us on the mountains. They set an ambush for us in the wilderness. The breath of our nostrils, the anointed of Yahweh, was taken in their pits, of whom we said, under his shadow we will live among the nations. Rejoice and be glad, daughter of Edom, who dwells in the land of Uz. The cup will pass through to you also. You will be drunken and will make yourself naked. The punishment of your iniquity is accomplished, daughter of Zion. He will no more carry you away into a captivity. He will visit your iniquity, daughter of Edom. He will uncover your sins. All right, Mark chapter 4, verses 1 through 25. We have another sunrise. I'm sorry. I have a very busy work day, and this was the only time that I would be able to put up a video. All right, here we go. Mark chapter 4. Again, he began to teach by the seaside. A great multitude was gathered to him, so that he entered into a boat in the sea and sat down. All the multitude were on the land by the sea, and he taught them many things in parables and told them in his teaching. Listen, behold, The farmer went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell by the road, and the birds came and devoured it. Others fell on the rocky ground, where it had a little soil, and immediately it sprang up, because it had no depth of soil. When the sun had risen, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. Others fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. Others fell into the good ground and yielded fruit, growing up and increasing. Some produced 30 times, some 60 times, and some 100 times as much. Whoever has ears to hear, let him hear. When he was alone, those who were around him with the 12 asked him about the parables. He said to them, "To you is given the mystery of God's kingdom, but to those who are outside, all things are done in parables, that seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear and not understand, lest perhaps they should turn again and their sins should be forgiven them." He said to them, "Don't you understand this parable? How will you understand all of the parables? The farmer sows the word. The ones by the road are the ones where the word is sown. And when they have heard, immediately Satan comes and takes away the word which has been sown in them. These in the same way are those who are sown on the rocky places, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with joy. They have no root in themselves, but they are short-lived. When oppression or persecution arises because of the word, immediately they stumble. Others are those who are sown among the thorns. These are those who have heard the word, and the cares of this age and the deceitfulness of riches and the lusts of other things entering in choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. Those which are sown on the good ground are those who hear the word, accept it, and bear fruit, some 30 times, some 60 times, and some 100 times. He said to them, "Is a lamp brought to be put under a basket or under a bed? Isn't it put on a stand? For there is nothing hidden except that it should be made known. Neither was anything made secret, but that it should come to light. If any man has ears to hear, let him hear." And he said to them, "Take heed what you hear. With whatever measure you measure, it will be measured to you, and more will be given to you who hear. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he who doesn't have, even that which he has, will be taken away from him." I love this parable because Jesus slows it down and he actually explains it. Many of the parables that he preaches, we actually have to kind of study and dig in and see what the words are meaning. But I love that he explained this one because it is true. I think so much of the world knows about God, whether it's, pick a religion. A lot of religions have God in it, but it's the teachings of Jesus, and it's Jesus as the new covenant. That's what he wants people to hear, and that's the seed that is dropped down in the soil, which is us. So, all right, let's close out the day for Psalm 119, verses 129 through 136. Your testimonies are wonderful. Therefore, my soul keeps them. The entrance of your words gives light. It gives understanding to the simple. I opened my mouth wide and panted, for I longed for your commandments. Turn to me and have mercy on me, as you always do to those who love your name. Establish my footsteps in your word, and don't let any iniquity have dominion over me. Redeem me from the oppression of man, so I will observe your precepts. Make your face shine on your servant. Teach me your precepts. Streams of tears run down my eyes because they don't observe your law. Oh, turn to me and have mercy on me. That communication, that straight up communication, giving your heart to Jesus, giving your heart to God in your prayers. He hears them. He hears them. So thank you for enjoying the sunrise with me on this day. I hope you all have the most wonderful day today. Mine is filled with so much work and not enough hours in the day, but we'll see what the Lord does with it, right? If it gets done, it gets done. If it doesn't, it's for a reason. So come on back for tomorrow, which will be day 245. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.